Home Impodcast time!
That's right, a company that is a doppelganger of Bin for Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, a guy I like to call Jordan. Jordan, how you doing?
Good. You're not the only one who likes to call me that, if you were wondering.
I am
it's not like a pet name.
A guy I like to call Jordan, and coincidentally, everyone else likes to call you Jordan as well.
Yeah, you're kind of a trendsetter like that.
You know, we're 13 episodes in. I'm just trying to jazz up the intro a little bit. You know, we're in the dregs of home improvement, as they say. 13 out of 202.
Yeah, these are really the dog days of home improvement, if you will.
Yeah. So what's new? How are you?
Not too much, really. Just been hanging out. I'm kind of sad that people can't really hear all of the pre-show stuff that you do before we start recording. Audience, if you can imagine, there's lots of those grunts that you've heard before, mixed in with like horse noises and a lot of clearing his throat, and it's quite a show.
Yeah, well, we know what the finished product sounds like, so I mean, you know,
it's worth it. I will say that.
It's clearly a necessary evil.
Absolutely, yeah, very necessary. And you know, I was thinking of something else that was necessary that we talked about a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
We talked about reaching out to a home improvement website. I think we have a mailing address. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I can't think of anything more necessary than writing them a letter.
That is really a necessary. Yeah, talking about necessary evils. What could be a more necessary evil than this? So yeah, we've talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about it on air, but certainly behind the scenes. The homeimprovement.co.uk website that I probably noted in like episode 2 or 3 or something. There is a mailing address under the frequently asked questions, or as you called them before the show started. What did you say?
Infrequently asked questions.
Yeah, because they're so weird. It's like, yeah, very specific questions like, what is home improvement? Or why does Wilson never show his face? But there is a how do I contact the cast? And there is a mailing address, and I purchased some stamps a while back, so I think I'm going to go ahead and you know, use the sort of archaic form of communication, letter writing, writing a letter.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Sure, yeah. So I think I'm going to write him a letter, and in that I want to do kind of I want to make some demands, or at the very least some requests.
Absolutely.
Imagine like a friendlier version of Taken, the film, except we didn't take anything at all. And we're just asking for like tool time hats. So I guess it's not really like that at all, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to sort of draw a parallel for the audience. I know Liam Neeson's really hot right now. So.
Is he still?
I think he's just going to be hot forever.
Yeah,
now.
Perennially now. Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of a response we get, if any, and we'll definitely keep everyone up to date.
What do you want?
What do I want?
I'm gonna request. I'm gonna request a couple of tool time hats.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to ask for autograph headshots.
Do you think they still have that wire they used to hold up Mark a couple episodes ago?
I want those pants that Tim wore.
Oh man, yeah. If I can get my hands on some of those JTT shirts.
I think really I'm just going to ask for some memorabilia and just sort of talk about being, you know, a huge fan of the show, and then just see like the kind of like downtrodden sort of sad response that I get from whoever's actually at that address now. It's Buena Vista Street in Burbank, which I'm assuming is just going to be the studio where they're at.
Right.
So someone's going to open that and be like, "Oh no, this is sad." So I can't wait for the sort of hopefully empathetic response that we get, if we get one.
I was going to say, I'm guessing like maybe 10% chance that we get anything back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get something back that'll say like address changed or something, or no longer
return to sender. Yeah.
Yeah, return to sender. Yeah, but. Yeah, I think the major goal here is to get those tool time hats.
Yeah, if I can get those. I'm not a hat guy, but I would wear that hat.
Yeah, you're not a hat guy because you've never had a tool time hat.
That's true. That changes lives.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of and we'll keep. I think probably every week I'll let people know if I've received a response yet. So that'll be something that we can look forward to.
The letter update. It'll be part of our mailbag segment. Oh, I can't speak ever. It's terrible.
Mailbag or mailbug?
Mailbug segment.
Since we can't speak necessarily, why don't we go ahead and let those grunts do some speaking for us? So can we go ahead and cue those grunts, Jordan?
Sure, it's all the same to me. Ah! Oh, no.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
So this week's Bit of Wisdom comes from Chapter 9 of the Tim Allen best-selling text, Don't Stand Too Close to a Naked Man. The chapter's entitled Men Zones. And I have two.
What?
I have two bits of wisdom.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you said you had two man zones. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I know this is a very important segment, but it was very confusing for me. Sorry, go ahead.
Men like to sit in dark, wood-paneled places, in high-backed chairs, drinking aromatic liquor and smoking fragrant cigars that smell like the bottom of men's feet. We like to eat salty foods like smoked herring, pistachios, pork rinds, and sometimes just plain salt. All salt does to a woman is make her retain water, which is the last thing she wants. In men's clubs, men do business. Can you imagine a woman wanting to do business when she's bloated? Can you? Well, can you?
Are you asking me, or does it say it in the text over and over again?
No, that was it. I just wanted to ask you. I don't want you to answer yet because I have another one.
Okay.
Men are defined by what they do, which is why the classic men's zone is the workplace. We're there all day long. Sometimes we die there because men do more of the dangerous work. Women blame us for being in control, but we're meaner to ourselves than we are to women. Men work the oil derricks. Men walk the high steel beams. Men repair bridges. Is this by choice, or because men are smarter, or because men are dumber? These jobs don't say to me, it's a man's world, we run everything, but someone's got to do it. So the men do. Men take the grungy jobs. If we were really as mean as women say, we'd stay home with the kids and let them enjoy salesman dinners and other industrial accidents.
Ooh, that's a rough second one right there.
Yeah, isn't that something?
I mean, the first one was, as a man, I can't say I enjoy very many of those things, except for, I don't know, what did he say, like salty chips? Did he even say salty chips? He said herring.
He just said salt. Pistachios.
No pistachios for me.
The second bit of wisdom is very self-congratulatory
towards all men.
Towards all men for doing terrible jobs that I'm sure women could do, but don't find. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I wanted to read the second one. Is just like an example of what is really terrible about this book.
Yeah,
and it's the worst parts of Tim Allen, I would say.
Yeah, that's the evils of it. Yeah, I would say maybe he was closer to say that men are dumb for taking those jobs, but
yeah, I mean the oil derricks, the high steel beams.
Jeez. Well, yeah, I don't know. How do we move on from that? Do we move on from that? What do you have to say? What do you think?
Jordan, do you like to do business when you're bloated?
It really hinders any sort of business talk. You're just not. You're not focused.
I know. Yeah,
you're not in the room, but you've had a lot of success with it, from what I hear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Typically, when we record the podcast, I'll get a big bowl of pistachios and
pork rinds mixed in,
a stinky cigar, and I'll just kick back and. Well, I think the proof's in the pudding with those 7 iTunes reviews. So.
Yeah, all 5 stars. So
yes, and with that hubris in mind, let's go ahead and talk about Up Your Alley, which is the 13th episode of the production run. It aired on January 7th, 1992, so we are now into the new year. And it is once again a Billy Ryback joint, but this time he's got his pal Elliot Stern.
Yeah, they're teaming up.
In tote. Yeah, they're teaming up. So let's go ahead and get into this one. What do you say?
Let's do it. We'll start with the plot synopsis by the one and only Tony Topola. I think I might just say Tony from now on. I think we all know who this is. But
I think there's something to be said for the alliteration.
Well, okay, fair enough. Speaking of alliteration, watch this sentence. In Tool Time, Tim demonstrates how to hang a drywall. At home, at Tim's suggestion, the family goes bowling. Tim's obsession for winning soon turns a time of family fun into bloody competition. Randy and Brad run into a bowling alley arcade bully. Ooh. Does it actually get bloody? We'll find out, I guess. But Thank you, Tony, for writing up that shorter one. A little bit more, more conducive
the shorter
for us.
The better. Yeah, the shorter the better for us. Those of us that struggle to read. To read,
yeah, one of my bugaboos, if you will.
Yes. All right. So the episode opens on the Tool Time set, and I feel like the episodes have been opening on the Tool Time set more of late. The last few, I feel like that's been the case.
It's their preferred opening for whatever reason. I don't know. They use it to set up either a quick joke or introduce what's going to unfold for the rest of the episode. And in this one, they definitely set the theme of competition. I would say.
So Tim is doing his introduction. I'm Tim the Toolman Taylor. And Al introduces himself as Al Borland, and Tim doesn't necessarily think that Al needs to share his last name. And Al's got some sass. He's not just going to take it. I thought Tim was just sort of being unnecessarily mean to Al, which I think is a common complaint I have regarding their dynamic. But they're hanging drywall, and exactly how it transpires. Essentially, Al starts hanging the drywall before Tim, and Tim says it's not a race. But if it were a race, Tim would almost certainly win. Al does not back away from the challenge, and we know how this unfolds.
Yeah,
Certainly.
I like Cocky
We've
Al,
seen this before. Yeah, Cocky Al is. I like all Als. I like it when Al is kind of nervous around Greta post. I like Cocky Al. I even like that episode where Al is kind of crying because he's sad.
He's 3D at this point. He's got.
I would say come one, come Al.
Oh God. So and we see Al can kick up his hammer out of his belt, which is pretty impressive, and Tim's impressed by that. But they kind of set up and 1, 2, 3 go, and actually Tim finishes first. But he kind of taunts right away, and as Al is finishing up, his wall falls down. So, and then I like Al's also like football celebration afterwards. He's like flexing and finger.
It's a good
finger
Al
guns.
moment.
This is the Al moment of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean it's a triumph. We transition. We move into the living room where Tim is just kind of chilling in the chair. And Randy has got a pair of, magician handcuffs or trick handcuffs or something. And he comes up and handcuffs Tim to the chair, I suppose. Randy is in good spirits. He's got another really stellar joke. This one I did understand, and I quite liked. And Jordan, what is the joke?
What did the moron have for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
And then
he had a bowl of honey bunches of oats.
so the joke is basically you just call the other person a moron. So
yeah, you say what the other person had for breakfast.
So it's not super clever, but it's effective.
It's low brow, so I'm surprised that you're not just like guts not busted and your abs don't hurt. You don't seem as into it as I might have expected.
No, I mean I kind of like what Jill does with it later.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll save that. You want to keep going?
Yeah. So he's hooked to this end table and he starts threatening the boys to uncuff him, and he threatens to take away their allowance, and that finally gets him out of this little conundrum that he's in. And Jill arrives, as we mentioned earlier. It's family night for the Taylor family, so they're going to go ahead and do something together.
I think family night is every night, based on what we see. When are they not like all just doing something within the house together? And then when they eventually small spoiler alert, when they go bowling, it's not like they're all together anyways, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose of a family night.
Yeah. Sure. I guess the difference is how much Tim is spending money on everybody. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. The boys want to play video games, and Jill wants to play charades, and the reaction of the boys and Tim,
it's the opera
scream, yeah. And
it's like that deadpan, very very organic. Everyone just wide eyes, just screaming. I would think charades would be a lot better than opera.
Yeah, I enjoy charades
or liver, for that matter.
either or.
Yeah.
But Tim suggests bowling. It's kind of got the best of both worlds there. They have an arcade, and Jill and Tim.
T for the Tiller, man. Yeah, go
on. The parents are going to bowl. So that's the plan. They're all going to go there together, but then split up.
But it's not that easy.
No,
you know,
just like
because,
speaking, it's not.
Yeah, it's much like talking on your own podcast. It's difficult when Tim and Jill go bowling together because there is sort of a competition there, and I think we have a clip we'll go ahead and play.
So since we are bowling tonight, promise me you won't behave like an obnoxious jerk.
What kind of jerk would you like me to be?
You know what I mean? You're obsessed with winning. You're the most competitive person I know. And when you do win, you always do that obnoxious victory dance.
Oh, you frighten me sometimes, honey. You're just doing that because you always lose.
Always lose? We only play once a year.
And you always lose. You can't help you're a lousy bowler. You're a woman.
Nothing gets by you, huh, Tim?
The point I'm trying to make is it's not fair for women to compete with men. Heck, men, we're stronger. We throw the ball harder. We're stronger, so we throw the ball harder.
Well put, Tim. You're not going to behave like a jerk tonight because we're not going to compete. We're not going to keep score.
How do we know who wins?
We don't care about winning. We only care about having fun.
All right, we'll have fun. You'll have fun. We won't keep score. We won't compete.
All right.
Race you to the car.
No.
Come on, in 3. 1.
This is stupid.
1,
I'm not doing
2.
it. Besides, your shoelace is untied. 3.
Yeah, so as you heard in the clip, Jill claims that Tim is obsessed with winning, which was strange because I don't feel like Tim ever wins or is successful in anything, so I'm not necessarily sure how that manifests itself. But yeah, there's definitely a sense of competition between the two. Tim says the ever sexist remark, you can't help you're a lousy bowler because you're a woman. To the praise of the audience, they do kind of boo at that, or at least they recognize that it's not a great thing to say, which is not always the case with the Tool Time.
No, that's
or
a growth
for
the audience right there.
Yeah, definitely. He basically goes into men are better at things than women, and just sort of that whole familiar diatribe we've heard before. But Tim makes the promise to Jill that he will be on his best behavior, and that they won't keep score. Is that what it said?
Yeah, Jill doesn't want to keep score. She just wants to have fun. So that's what they kind of agree on as they go to the bowling alley, and that's where our next.
But
scene...
for real, I'm the real for just a minute. Bowling, I understand Jill's point and wanting it to be fun, but not keeping score when bowling would be the most boring. It'd be such a terrible time. That's just so pointless.
Yeah, you're just throwing a ball at
that would
pins.
be terrible.
Yeah, every once in a while. Yeah, I don't understand that.
I was trying to think of something to compare it to, but that would just it'd be like playing Scrabble without keeping score. You're just putting words down to put it sounds awful.
Yeah, just like throwing darts at a dartboard over and over again, but not actually playing a game or keeping score. So yeah, it's not a great idea. But they agree to do it, and it won't. Spoiler alert: it won't continue as the episode starts. But yeah, we're gonna head over to the bowling alley now. Jill gives the boys money for the arcade, and Brad and Randy are out of there. But Mark wants to stay around and watch his parents play for a little bit.
Surprise, surprise! That's why he needs friends for Christmas / a dose of reality.
/ a dose of reality. But yeah, Tim builds up anticipation for his bowl that he's gonna. I think he starts right. They got their names up on the board, and Tim just says that he does that to see who goes first. But it's evident that he's going to be keeping score at some point. Yeah. So he's building anticipation. We're to think that Tim might throw a strike here or something, but he goes down and he gutter balls it.
Are we really to think that though? Did you for a second think Tim was going to succeed in bowling right away? I don't think I'd seen this episode before, which is, I think, kind of rare for a first season episode. But there was no doubt in my mind that Tim was going to struggle at first.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have gotten a strike right away, certainly would have took the episode in a different direction. So yeah, he gutter balls. He then somehow has the bravado to think he's going to do well again, throws and hits one pin, and Mark celebrates. So that was a good moment between Mark and Tim, where Mark's trying to pump him up a little bit. So,
so
but we head over. Go ahead.
I'm just going to take the reins here with this arcade action. So we cut to The obligatory horse noise. That's a good mainstay. That and Lion just recovered a fumble. But here we are. We're in the arcade, and I guess before we get into this, you ever spend much time at an arcade, or were you into the whole arcade scene?
Yeah, I mean, I like them. I played when we went to the bowling alley every once in a while. I very much enjoyed places like Dave and Buster's and the like. And like, I didn't ever like, you know how people used to rollerblade and go to the roller skating rink.
Yeah.
This guy can't do that. I've never done it, so I would mostly just go there and hang out in the arcade. But
I'm terrible at it as well. I mean, I tried and routinely failed, so I can kind of relate to that. And
I could be the best ever, but I've never tried.
I again praise you for being vulnerable on the podcast.
So vulnerable.
We get just with the listens that we get in our expanding listenership. It's really brave of you to kind of admit things like that.
I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment or not, but I'll just move past it. No, I mean, I like arcade games. There's even like a bar down here in Orlando that's called like Player One Bar, and you go in there and you pay like a $5 cover, and they just have like a bunch of old arcade games, and then they have like the new console systems, and you can go in there and play as many as you want, and you don't have to use quarters or anything. But then obviously, since it's a bar, there's alcohol available for purchase, but it's a good time.
Yeah, I went to something like that in Chicago once, and yeah, it was cool. There's a lot of like really old arcade games kind of lining the wall.
You got like Pac-Man and old X-Men, but then they also had like NFL Blitz.
Yeah, I got really
NBA
into like the NBA like 2-on-2 game, whatever that
NBA
is.
Jam.
Yeah, I think NBA Jam. But
that's my jam.
I'm terrible at the arcade games, but yeah, I remember as a young man kind of getting excited about that, and of course, like Houghton Lake, we kind of have that mutual. We both frequent that area, and there's a pretty good arcade up there that I remember going to a fair amount. I like skee ball and of course shooting the baskets as well. But
that's my favorite, the little basketball game. Yep. I could play that for hours. So.
Yeah. And we can talk about this for hours too, but we got to.
It's true, but we're not going to.
We're
going to talk about Zaxxon, right?
Get into it. Yeah, go ahead.
Brad and Randy are playing Zaxxon, mostly Randy. We find out that Randy's a pretty darn good arcade player, and he's aiming to beat the high score on the machine. A slightly older boy appears, and before I knew his name, I just referred to him as Darsh, because that's pretty much what he is.
Yeah.
But we find out later that his name is Chuck.
I don't think we ever find that out. I only know that because it's on IMDb.
Yeah, I'd prefer Darsh. Can we call him that, or do you want to call him Chuck?
Chuck and Darsh are kind of synonymous. So.
So he comes over and says it's his machine, and this boy, he's probably what? You think like 13, 14?
He has the air of a teenager, of a newly minted teen. Yeah.
He's certainly bigger than
He's
Brad
got
or
that
Randy.
classic bully form too, where he looks like Kurt Cobain, sort of. He's got like unbuttoned flannel shirt, backwards black hat, and like a gray undershirt. If you say pick a bully out of a lineup, you're gonna pick this guy. He just screams bully. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does some bullying. He takes Randy's quarter, and Brad. I gotta give Brad some credit here. He tries to defend his brother. He's much smaller still, even than this guy, and he's ready to fight him. But initially, in the end of this scene, he is a little scared off by Darsh. What does he do? He just he does like that fake yell.
Yeah, it's like he yells at him and then the bully like moves towards him and then Brad just runs away. But I think that if they really wanted to, take care of this bully situation, they should have just had him look at Randy's shirt for like more than 5 seconds and he would have been blinded.
I wrote something down about that. Yeah, I wrote something down about that too later in the episode. It's the same stuff that we've seen before. Randy's worn a shirt like this, and Tim's pants we've talked about before. It's just that crazy, bizarre pattern, and it's like way too big and billowy. It's very strange.
It's like the thing that you stare at. I don't know what the name is for these, but where you stare at them for a long time, like patterns, and then eventually something comes out. Is there a name for that?
I'm sure there is. I don't know it. It reminds me of like what you would see. Like if you go into like a fancy hotel and you look on the ground at the carpet.
I never do though.
Well, you're not fancy enough, but yeah, it's something between those two things.
We'll post a picture. Yeah.
We'll let you know what it looks like. But we go back to the other part of the bowling lane, and this time we see Jill bowling. She runs up there slowly, and she kind of like politely asks the pins to fall down, and it works. She gets a strike, and Tim's kind of dismayed at this and already pouting, but he says that if they were competing, he would be throwing strikes as well.
Well, she's starting to keep score as well. Like she comes back and immediately marks it as a strike, and like so it's very much a case of both of them. She kind of in the beginning says that Tim is very competitive, but we learn throughout the episode that Jill is just as competitive. So, but yeah, and then Tim starts, he keeps going on. Besides saying, if he was competing, he'd be winning. But he also says that women cave under pressure. Yeah, and that kind of that does it. That it's on at that point. Yeah, right? He negs her. I mean, it's a. I don't know if he pulls the wool over her eyes, but he definitely tricks. I don't know if it's a trick, but he gets her to compete relatively easy. He knows what he's doing. It's a smarter Tim than perhaps we've seen in other episodes. He definitely is saying these things so as to sort of get. Yeah, he's pushing the right buttons, definitely for sure. And so Jill goes up and throws another strike, right? And Tim's got some bad sportsmanship here. As she's going back to throw the ball, he fake sneezes and stuff. Just not a good look for Tim. But yeah, it results in another strike. And now it's Tim's turn, and he gets ready to throw, but then we have a couple of people show up that we've seen before a few episodes ago, and it's the K&B Construction Boys. They're here, Rock, Pete, Dwayne, and they brought their friend Roger to complete the foursome there. They sure did, and Roger, I'll go ahead and talk about Roger briefly here. Roger is played by Louis Dix Jr., and he has 21 credits to his name. He appeared in a film called Love Under Management in 2016. But he's more prolific in the 90s. He appeared in what we come to think of as sort of the 90s staple sitcoms such as Roseanne, Fresh Prince, Friends, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Hanging Out with Mr. Cooper was my spec script that was going to be Mr. Cooper 10 years later. So no, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Unfortunately, he's not in any Sister episodes. Jordan. No, yeah, very disappointing. But and we should have talked about Chuck earlier. He is played by Sean Baca, one of the two, and he was last credited in 1993. So he did a lot of child acting roles. I think he had 15 total credits, mostly on the Wonder Years. And one common thing between them is they both appeared on an episode of Matlock. Yeah. I wonder if it was the same episode. I don't think it was. Gosh, but, that'd be cool. That would be fun. But yeah. So that's our guest stars in this episode. But we've got Rock, Pete, and Dwayne, who you guys will remember from before. They've got, like I said, they have a league game tonight, and they are, for some reason, you brought this up, so I guess you should say. Well, I mean, just, we know they're from Bay City, because when he reads their letter aloud. So they are from Bay City, Michigan, but they're bowling in a league in metropolitan Detroit, which is, hour and a half away. At least 2 hours. Yeah, so I think that probably moving forward, we're just going to have to forget that they're from Bay City or just assume they relocated because that seems to already kind of have been wiped away. But the K&B Construction Boys are back, and they're a welcomed addition to the episode. They kind of build on what they what they brought in the early episode. They love Al, and they're supportive of Tim, but they also kind of make him nervous. So as they come in and sit down and they kind of get their wrist protectors going, and Tim feels the pressure, and he rolls the ball, but he tosses it into the other lane and is able to get a strike on there. And they are impressed by that, or do they buy it? It's like a clever joke, oh man, how impressive. And we should say, I guess, when they come in, they yell in the middle of his backswing, and he throws the bowling ball backwards. Very dangerous. These K&B boys are causing some ruckus in the bowling alley, but they're a menace to the alley. Yeah. This they might not make it back in the league after this year. Yeah. We'll find out. Save themselves a commute, though.
That's true. Maybe there's only one bowling alley in between these two areas, which seems unlikely.
Jordan, we've been in between these two areas.
I know.
We grew up in between these two areas.
Yeah, in the
and
small
there's
town
two
that
bowling alleys where we grew up.
Just trying to give them some credit where it's not due.
Hey, quick question: you more of a Richfield Bowl or a what's the downtown bowling alley called?
Wasn't it Rollaway
So
Lanes?
you a Richfield Bowl or a Rollaway Lanes guy?
I was more of a Rollaway Lanes guy, I gotta say. I bet you were a Richfield Bowl.
Yeah,
I know you.
I lived on Richfield, so yeah.
I know.
I love it when we talk about things that relate to no one besides ourselves. It's
fantastic for us. It's fantastic for the audience.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to really increase viewers and spread the word, or listeners rather.
So let's get back into the episode, and we're gonna go back into the arcade then. So Randy is again playing Zaxxon.
I guess the bully just like left. I don't know.
Yeah, and they just went back in there. I don't know. In 5 minutes, and the bully got distracted. But no, the bully's in the scene later, so we'll see that. But Randy's playing this game, and he's surrounded by a couple different boys, including Brad, and he's getting close to breaking that record. And it turns out that record is held by Mr. Darsh. Brad is taunting him already, like saying he's going to beat his record. But Randy's doing his best not to provoke him.
Yeah.
This guy gets up and he comes over and he pushes Brad and Randy, but he also unplugs the game.
He's the worst, man. It's a pretty good like teenage kid performance. I mean,
yeah,
I've seen examples of bullies. Just like this is something that could go very wrong. This as far as like casting a kid to play a bully, I think they did reasonably well with it. He was
he was a real life bully.
I mean, yeah, I suspect you're right. That's all I can really say about that. Were you familiar with Zaxxon? Had you heard of it? I had to look it up. I didn't know.
Yeah, I looked it up. I've played games like that, but I didn't know about that one. So, in particular. But yeah, it's a shooting game. With when you're in a little plane. But yeah, I mean things escalate in this arcade. Not only did he push the boys out of the way, the Taylor boys out of the way, but he unplugged this machine, and at this point, Brad's had enough, and he's going to take it into his own hands, and so he jumps on this bully and takes him to the ground. They kind of roll around a little bit, and Brad ends up in a headlock, and Randy wants this bully to let go, but the bully's got some demands.
I'm glad we finally got to this.
And the bully's demands are very similar to like our demands in writing to the Home Improvement website.
His are strange,
ridiculous,
very peculiar.
So he basically wants him to say that he's like the king of Zaxxon, right?
Yeah, which is reasonable, but
yeah, it's okay.
The second one is what, Jordan? What's he want them to say / admit?
He wants Randy to say that he's the best looking guy in the arcade or in the bowling alley, which we both know is not true. Like that crown goes to Jonathan Taylor Thomas, right?
Certainly, but why would you ever?
But why is that something?
Why is that something he wanted? Why did this teenage boy want this like younger kid that he's bullying to say that he was the most handsome guy in the alley? It just, I mean, the first time I heard it, I laughed. This morning I heard it, I laughed more. It's just really funny. I don't think that there's no implication of any, like, I mean, it's not meant to signify anything. It's just really weird. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man. This just really goes to show that this guy really has got some interesting things going on in his head. But Randy caves. He wants Brad out of the headlock, so he goes ahead and admits these two obvious lies, and and Brad gets let go, and yeah, so Brad's kind of on the ground here, and they're kind of upset at this moment, but Randy's got an idea, and his idea is not to get mad, it's to get even.
This was like the beginning of like Ocean's 11. I love it when they come up with a plan, they kind of get the gang together. I was really excited at this point. I in my notes, all caps, I love this. I wrote. So I love it. I love it when watching a plan kind of come together. Yeah, it's
and this plan will come together.
Sure does.
And it will in a couple scenes here. But in the meantime, we're going to get back to the lanes, and Jill gets another strike. She's got 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The K&B boys are now like not on their own lane. They're on the Taylor lane.
Yeah, she's got them eaten out of the palm of her hand. Really.
Yeah,
I mean, they love it.
They're enjoying this competition. They're involved. You would think this is like an ESPN broadcast or something. And they're helping Tim keep score because he seems to be cheating Jill out of some scores otherwise. She's taken advantage a little bit. And as you were talking about in the last scene, the boys grab Mark to add to their Ocean's 11 plot. So
squad up.
They're squadding up. So they leave, and Rock Lanigan kind of makes things worse, the situation worse between Tim and Jill, because he's saying that Tim's taking it easy on her. Or no, he's saying, what does he say? He says
that if he were Tim, and his wife was beating him in something, that he would really have a difficult time with it.
He'd be really upset.
Yeah, he gives Tim credit for handling it. And then Tim says that Jill's having a really tough week because her mother got arrested for Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, so he puts a little bit more pressure on Tim
Just
than he
what
didn't
Tim
need
needs.
at this point. Yeah, and we cut over to Dwayne, who's talking to Jill. Dwayne with his southern accent, I guess. I don't know where exactly he's from.
Love Dwayne.
Love Dwayne. He's a great character here, but he's impressed with her bowling prowess, and he wants to know her secret. And Pete's there as well. Yeah. And she shares that she kind of has like a mantra, basically, as she approaches the lane. And her mantra is, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
Mm-hmm. And then she scoots backwards and says, does she say, please, 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 please.
Yeah, so Dwayne and Pete try it with her, but Pete is the only one to try the scooting backwards. And this is kind of the second time we've seen this where Pete and Dwayne get into
I love it. Yeah, they're like a married couple. Pete's not afraid. Pete, kind of like you, is not afraid to let himself feel and be vulnerable,
Yeah, and he does in this scene. It's a good moment. It provides a good laugh here.
Yep.
And they basically, Dwayne says, this is not the time or the place. Right. So they move on and they move back. So go down the other lane or something. But at this point, Jill's feeling pretty good. She's got 4 strikes in a row and she wants to up the ante. So she wants to make a bet with Tim.
Sure does.
The stakes are very strange, I would say. The loser has to kiss the winner's bowling shoes in front of everyone.
Yeah, but this is like a weird joke where it's like she says kiss the winners, and then the Candy Construction boys like perk up, and then she says bowling shoes, and they seem disappointed. So like, what did they want to see?
I guess they were hoping like a butt kiss or something.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I don't have an answer.
Those K&B boys, they're a little, out there.
They're a raunchy bunch, ragtag bunch of fellas.
But I want them to get in on this like bully plot here.
Definitely, yeah.
Team up with the boys.
Yeah, it's so we cut back over the bowling alley, and the bully is up to his same old shenanigans.
He's up to no good.
He's I don't exactly. He's playing the game. Randy uses the handcuffs from earlier, so it's a cuff callback. So they did a good job setting those up in the beginning. And he cuffs the bully to the machine, and he's pretty upset. But he becomes even more upset when they silly string him. And Mark. Well, is there more to the trick than that, or not really?
Well, I mean, initially the boys are playing. Like Randy's, they're kind of like goading him into this. Yeah. Randy's playing, and Brad's like, he's gonna beat your top score.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he goes, no, he's not, and he pushes him out of the way, and he kind of takes controls of the machine, and that's when they
handcuff him. But when they silly string him, he is. This is probably I did just praise this Sean Baca actor earlier, but when he's getting silly string, he's making noises as if he's being just beaten, just these in very just a
like
ton-
somebody's throwing
like he's getting
like somebody's throwing ice snowballs at him.
Oh man, it's painful, but they were successful, and all 3 of them were a part of it. So it was nice to see the boys kind of band together for this.
Yeah. Revenge is sweet, isn't it?
It's a dish best served cold, they say. So we cut back to the alley, and we're down to the final moments here, and Tim has mounted a comeback, and he needs a certain. What does he need to?
I think if he gets a strike, he wins.
Yeah, so he's in his cadence, and Jill is sort of doing what Tim did earlier. He's talking. She asks, "What does Tim need to win?" or something like that. She's distracting him. But Tim does eventually get into his role. And I guess we'll play a clip of this, correct? We're going to play that clip?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just play the clip.
Great comeback, Tim. Look, now you're only down by 9 pins. This is the last frame. Just do it, all right?
Don't want to make you nervous, Timmy, but this is the clutch shot. Kiss them all and you win, buddy.
So wait a minute, what are you saying? You're saying that, like, unless he gets down every single pin, which is very hard to do under all this pressure, I win?
I think that's exactly what he's saying, Jill. Ashes, ashes, all Hey! 10 pins down, all fall down, 10 pins down. I got the crowd. I win. I win.
Now, wait a minute, Tim. I may be wrong, but doesn't that buzzer mean that some kind of foul or something?
That means the game's over or something.
No, that's a foul.
That's only in tournament play.
Your strike doesn't count, buddy.
You mean I won?
No, it doesn't mean you.
Yes, it does. She took you fair and square. Come on, guys, let's bowl.
I believed in you, Tim Taylor. This is indeed a dark day.
I think Al could have taken her.
I didn't beat you by that much. Are you upset, Tim?
No, I had a lot of fun, Jill.
Well, that's good. That's good, because there's one thing that you could do that would make me really happy.
What?
Well, you could take this old score sheet and you could just have it laminated. I won. I beat you. I beat you. You don't have to kiss them. You can just nuzzle them next to your cheek and whisper, "You're the best, Jill. You're the best."
You're the best, Jill.
This is the most perfect night of my life. Nothing could ruin it.
Excuse me, are these your boys?
What did they do?
Well, they handcuffed a kid to a video game and they covered him with silly string.
Oh, those aren't my boys.
I've never seen him before in my life.
He bowls a strike. You know, it sounds good for the moment being, but he went over the line. That's that sound that you heard there, and that's a foul, and it doesn't count. So, he starts the taunting, but the K&B boys quickly enforce the rules there, and I think their reaction is kind of funny, where they say they think that Al could have taken her.
Yeah, Dwayne says this is indeed a dark day. They're very disappointed in Tim. They wanted Tim to win.
He's no longer on a pedestal.
Yeah,
for them.
look up to Tim.
And he's a sore loser. He's not happy. And what struck me about this scene is that Tim would have cheated without them there, because at first Jill doesn't exactly know what that noise means.
Yeah.
And that's just a no-no.
Yeah.
I like to play by the rules, and
you do.
Tim,
you do.
Yeah. So that rubs me the wrong way. But what also rubs me the wrong way is how Jill reacts after she learns that she won. She starts taunting, and we learn that she's pretty much just as bad as Tim is.
She is like just as bad. It's a slower burn to get there. But she puts her feet up, and she says Tim doesn't necessarily have to kiss them, but he has to nuzzle them, and he has to say something related to like "you're the best" or something along those lines. And he does. And this episode is strange because like there isn't that moment where Tim and Jill like really make up, or anyone admits that anyone was wrong, or there's no real lesson here, right? I mean, it just
no. I guess the lesson is competition's fun.
Yeah, Tim gets his comeuppance. I mean, Tim he says some insensitive things at the beginning, and he does end up losing. So I guess
be
Tim
careful what you wish for.
Yeah, Tim takes his medicine, but like Jill is just gloating and just kind of a bad winner at the end, and nothing really comes of it. But whatever. I guess not every episode of Home Improvement needs to be have kind of a moral twist or whatever, a lesson.
Yeah, a lesson. Yeah. But and the scene ends with the alley worker coming over, and he's got the boys after they've silly stringed this guy. Mm-hmm. And he asks if these boys belong to them, and they say no. Mm-mm.
I thought this was really good casting because that guy very much looked like someone who would like manage or run a bowling alley.
Yeah, he does a good job with his, 10 seconds of screen time. But and then we move on back home. We leave the alley finally, and the boys are trying to explain, but they're not getting out of this one. They're in trouble. Although it seems like Mark's not in as much trouble. It seems like he kind of gets off with it. But
yeah.
And then at this point, Tim and Jill have a silly string standoff, if you will.
Yeah, they do.
And they fire at each other, and they're kind of running around the house and laughing.
And a really cool graphic. The silly string shows up on the screen as the credits roll, and I thought I kind of like that.
There you go.
And you did not.
And I didn't even notice it.
Oh,
so.
really? Oh, wow. Sometimes I don't know that you're watching these episodes as closely as you need to. We can talk about this off air. I'm just kidding. And then the scene that closes, I actually thought that as far as like bloopers go, or the scenes that come after the credits, I kind of like this one, only because it sort of established that the bowling ball that Tim was using was like, it was really light. Like it flew through the air because Rock Lanigan caught the ball.
So it must have been
it must have been like a really light ball or like a fake bowling ball, and I didn't necessarily know that or think about that throughout the episode. So I don't know.
And that maybe that was only during that one scene when he throws it backwards, I guess. But I don't know. It's hard to know.
Yeah, it is hard to know. But
you know what we
should know. Let's talk about our highs and lows of the episode because that is the final scene.
That is the final scene. So. Yeah, my thoughts, I'm not a vengeful person, I would say, and maybe you can corroborate that, but I did love the revenge that those kids got on that bully. It was pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. So I liked that about the episode, which I suppose isn't saying much for me. I thought it was another strong performance from the K&B construction team. They're like a great addition to the episode. They make, their emphasis on like Tim as like a pseudo idol, is pretty funny, and the reaction to him falling is pretty good. So I was glad to see them in there. It was I think as you said this before, it was more of like a playful episode. It wasn't as serious. Not that a lot of these are serious, but there wasn't necessarily a moral involved. And I liked both of the storylines as far as the arcade and the bowling alley and the competitiveness there. So, and I enjoyed getting onto a new set. They were at the bowling alley for the majority of the episode, and so that took us out of the house and out of the backyard and out of tool time. So that I thought those were all good things. Lows, I would say. Is it too cliche to say that Tim being sexist was a low, or am I supposed to just expect it at this point?
I think that we just kind of have to. We can always take shots at Tim if we want to when he's being a jerk. But I guess to this episode's credit, that is kind of he's proven to be wrong. So I guess that I would maybe say that that's one of the positives is that like Tim is not let off the hook for his actions, and like Jill doesn't have to come apologize to him. Like he is a jerk in the beginning, says that women can't bowl, or makes his basic generalizations, and then in the end he pays for it. He has to nuzzle her shoes, and he's emasculated, in front of his friends and those that look up to him. So that's always a viable complaint, but I think in this one he does sort of pay the price for it.
Yeah, that's the feminist hook in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of
in the last episode, they got they sunk their claws into it as we read in the message boards in the last post. But any other lows, Jordan?
Not really. I think it was pretty entertaining. Even Al's appearance, though brief, I thought was pretty good and pretty memorable. So I like this episode. It's definitely in the upper third for me.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I think we've had a couple of good ones in a row. I really like this one. I actually probably liked it better than the Christmas one last week. As far as highs go, I definitely liked the boys in the arcade and kind of the boys being away from their parents for a little bit, something different. And I do always like sort of maybe not a revenge plot so much as I like it. I like it when plans come together and it's kind of executed. And I don't know, no matter how insignificant or small in scale it is, like I like it when I just like the idea of like these boys coming up with a plan and then kind of watching it come to fruition. So I like that, and I of course liked having kind of all the boys be together, even though the stuff with Mark was relatively short lived. So, but I like that, and I thought the bully was a good single shot character, so that was something that worked for me. I just said earlier I liked kind of Tim having to eat his own words. And the change of setting was good as well. I'm trying to think what else. Reasonably funny. Take a drink, I would say. Yeah, it's a good episode. I don't really have anything new. The K&B Construction Boys are welcome. The bully was good. I like episodes where you have a couple different things going on instead of just one thing, like all the eggs in one basket. Complaints. Let's think. I don't know.
Complaints? There are none.
Yeah,
friend.
I would say I don't know that I have any real lows here. More Al would be appreciated. I would say not having Wilson in the episode was okay because I don't think that we've had real stellar Well, I suppose Wilson was real good in the last episode.
It's been hit or miss.
It's been hit or
but
miss.
I think if you don't have him in every episode, that's okay.
Yeah. We don't need necessarily the formulaic like Tim encounters a problem. He goes out to Wilson briefly. The problem seems to get worse. He goes out to Wilson again. Wilson tells him something, and then he uses it. It's okay to sort of
and maybe that's
that.
why we liked this episode so much. It did kind of break that formula.
Yeah, it was different. I mean, this is different than most of the episodes we've covered thus far. So, and I would say, it's successful. So, yeah, definitely in the top third for me. So.
Yeah, so I guess we can move on.
I guess I would say before we move on, though, that we were both, we're both pretty bowled over by the episode. Not worth going back.
I tried to hold it in. Yeah. But I couldn't. It was just too darn good.
Too good,
yeah. Speaking of being bowled over, let's go ahead and get into Mailbag.
You've got mail.
Yeah, so there's no mail, so I guess we'll move on from this part of the episode. You want to move on to social media?
Yeah. Please. The reason there is no mail is because people don't reach out to us as much as we might like. This mailbag segment is going to be reoccurring, so please reach out to us either on Twitter. That's at Home Impodcast. It's been a busy week on Twitter. We've had some interaction from the Wilson parody account. We had a tweet from a Jack Picone noting that Haley Joel Osment would be perfect as a young Al Borland, and he posted a picture of him wearing a flannel shirt, which was very well received. And we're continuing to get new followers and posting polls. I posted a poll relatively recently about greatest fear. That's in relation to Jill's fear of public speaking. And the results, though limited, a limited number of actual votes are in, and let me find them here. They are as follows. 17% of Home and Podcast listeners are afraid of public speaking, 33% are afraid of sharks, and a whopping 50% are afraid of missing an episode of Home and Podcast. So I would say you're all very sweet, and I thank you for that. Other ways to reach us, if you're not interested in Twitter, we are on Facebook. Just find us Home and Podcast. You can email us homeandpodcast@gmail.com. That's where we're going to get that mail, hopefully. And please rate and review us on iTunes. It helps people find us and helps us grow in popularity. So anything else I'm forgetting, Jordan?
I think you nailed it.
All right. So I guess that's it. And my final question to be posed to you, Jordan, is... I mean, I could take this in a couple of different directions. I guess... Let's just talk about, and I know the answer to this, but listenership out there, you much of a bowler?
Yeah, no, I'm not very. I mean, I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's always something I enjoy doing, and if anyone ever asks, I'm up for it.
What's your bowling average?
Oh, brutal. I would say I'm like my goal is to break 100. So that's not very much of a goal. That's like low-hanging fruit, but even for me, that's pretty tough sometimes. So I would say I probably average like right around 100. Like sometimes I'll get up to 120 or 140.
There's no way that you average 100. I've watched you bowl. I went bowling with you. You do like the between your legs granny roll.
No. Oh, no. You haven't been with me in a long time.
Since we were 22, you've changed your form from the granny roll to something more serious.
Boy, I don't even remember the last time I've done that. So yeah, I think this is just proof that we need to get together and go to an alley.
All right.
And I'm going to show you what for.
All right.
But yeah, I would say I'm probably right around 100. I'm usually anywhere from 80 to 120.
Okay. All right. I would say I'm really hit or miss. Well, we should say, what's your high game?
Oh, I want to say like 160.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I rolled a 204 once, so a little higher. My average is probably about a 110 though.
You're just mad because I'm right near you in the average area.
Yeah, I am upset about that. And I expected you to say your average was like 60, so I thought this would be an opportunity for me to kind of solidify myself as the bowler of the two of us, which would, of course, be really just a really cool thing to solidify myself as. But yeah, no, I like to bowl, but very inconsistent. And yeah, I think it'd be great if we could get together and bowl sometime soon. And,
yeah, so if you would like to donate money to the Home Impodcast so that we could buy a plane ticket to meet in Metro Detroit to bowl, because that's where everyone meets, no matter where they're at.
Right, definitely. My backup question was going to be describe a moment when you were bullied, but I thought that would be kind of a sad way to end the episode. So
yeah, we'll stick with the bowling. Even though my average is pretty sad, it's not that sad.
Not as sad as talking about an experience with a bully. So yeah, hey, we want to thank everyone for listening, and I would say take care.
Take care. Oh my gosh, Jill and Tim.
T for the tiller, man. Yeah, go on.
The parents are going to bowl. So that's the plan. They're all going to go there together, but then split up.
But it's not that easy.
No, just like speaking, it's not.
Yeah, it's much like talking on your own podcast. It's difficult when Tim and Jill go bowling together because there is sort of a competition there, and I think we have a clip we'll go ahead and play.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to take it easy on the gin before you start recording. Really slurring your words
over
there.
Aromatic liquor.